This one, totally blank. Write something. It's very important to write something during the practice, even if you don't know, because if you go to the exam, you will also need this skill if you meet with some question that you don't know how to do, and you cannot leave it blank. Leaving a blank in the test or exam just means that you lose the chance of gaining at least a point. Yes, very close. You just write filtration, evaporation, because this is a process. So the idea is that it's actually very close really. Explain why step 3 is carried out. What is step 3? Step 3, you evaporate. So what's the purpose of that? The whole purpose of that is to heat it up so that you can evaporate most of the liquid and make the solution become saturated. So when you want to write the answer, right, it's just to obtain a saturated solution. Like that. It's not to remove the excess substance, because the excess substance is removed by step 2. Then part B, it's also blank. You say describe the next step. What is the next step? The next step needed in order to produce a sample of dry copper 2 crystal. That means the final product must be dry copper sulfate crystals. So your answer will lead you to obtain dry copper 2 crystals. Then your answer, letting the solution cool, is only one of the intermediate steps to allow the crystals to appear. So you have to write the entire process. Then some more. What happens after I let the solution cool? How do I get the excess substance from the crystal? Remove the excess substance. Does removing excess substance from the crystals allow me to get the crystals? Because now you heat it, you let the solution cool, then what happens to the solution when it's cool? It is down here, it's already a saturated solution. After heating, it becomes a saturated solution. Now it's a saturated solution, then you go to the next step, you say let it cool. So once it's cool, what will happen? What happens to this solution? What happens after it's cool? What will you see in the solution? Hmm? Sorry, I can't hear you. That you evaporate, then it gets a saturated solution. You go through evaporation, then you get the saturated solution. So evaporation comes first, getting the saturated solution comes later. So what happens after you have a saturated solution? You cool it down. This one is correct. Then what happens to the solution when it's cooled? what do you see?
You see dry and copper sulfate crystal.
So after it's cooled, you will see copper sulfate crystal precipitates, right?
Yeah.
Copper sulfate crystals appears. So then your copper sulfate crystals appear, then you want a sample of dry copper sulfate crystals, but your copper sulfate crystal is still inside. So what to do? Now the crystals is still inside the solution with some liquid down there. Okay, so 1, cool, 2, filter, then after you filter, you will get the crystals, but the crystals are still contaminated.
Let it dry on filter paper.
So you have to rinse in water. Rinse in water to get rid of the contaminating substance. Then for
let it dry.
yes, dry between pieces of filter paper. So your whole step will be let the solution cool and filter the mixture, filter the mixture in the evaporating dish, then rinse the crystals in water and dry between pieces of filter paper. You have to have so many because they say the product is a sample of dry copper sulfate crystals. They are not interested in getting this copper sulfate crystals inside the evaporating dish, which is contaminated with the solution. That's why you have so many lines after this. Okay. Okay, down here in our mixture is copper carbonate and sulfuric acid. So step 1, we have copper carbonate and sulfuric acid. Name the
Carbon
gas.
dioxide, carbon dioxide.
Write the test for the gas.
The white precipitate. The bubble,
Write
the
the
gas,
test.
and water.
Okay. Then the next one.
Then if carbon dioxide is present, a white solid will be formed.
Yes, correct. Now part C, part 2. Okay, it's fine.